Hello, I'm Rob Kinslow, and I greet you wherever you are and whenever you may be seeing this. Welcome. I thought because these are unusual times that it might be time for a moment of magic. The colors of our rainbow flag. We'll see these colors later. Our opening words are adapted from the words of the Czech writer, dissident, and former president of Czechoslovakia and the Czech Republic, Václav Havel. We must divest ourselves of our habit of seeing ourselves as masters of the universe who can do whatever occurs to us. We must discover a new respect for what transcends us, for the universe, for the earth, for nature, for life, and for reality. Our respect for other people, for other nations, and for other cultures can only grow from a humble respect for the cosmic order, and from an awareness that we are a part of it, that we share in it, and that nothing of what we do is lost, but rather becomes part of the eternal memory of being where it is judged.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Medford, an historic congregation that seeks to be a welcoming place for all people of free faith. My name is Brendan Shea, and I'm a member of this church. I'm pleased to be the worship associate for today's online service. Today we're happy to welcome Rob Kinslow to our virtual pulpit. Rob has been a Unitarian Universalist since 1995 and a member of First Parish of Sudbury since 2000. Prior to Sudbury, he was an active member of First Parish in Watertown. Currently, Rob serves as Vice President for Life Sciences at KHJ, a Boston marketing agency. He is a candidate for Unitarian Universalist ministry and will be graduating from Starr King School for Ministry in Berkeley, California in May. Rob serves as an itinerant preacher for area UU congregations, including First Parish Church in Taunton, where he completed his 2-year parish internship. Rob lives in Medford with his wife Janice, in addition to their 2 rescue dogs, Daisy and Petey. He is the father of 2 grown sons, Jay and Dan, who live in Quincy and Tewksbury. We are very happy that Rob is willing to venture into the world of online worship with us. This is a congregation that gathers in faith. Not faith in one religion or one God or any one way. Instead, we gather in faith of the power of diversity, the power of love, and the hope of a world transformed by our care. We gather in faith in ourselves and those around us, not a faith that requires perfection or rightness in one another, but rather a faith that in our shared imperfection, we will help one another to try again and again. We are Unitarian Universalists. I want to extend a special welcome to everyone who is joining us today for our second ever online worship service. There are a few things we would like you to know. First, you can find the order of service from the link on our website just below this video. Next, I want to thank all of the people who have helped us get our online worship working, including Avalon Owens, Paul Marcucci, Alex Cumming, our board, our worship committee, and our religious education team. We appreciate all of their hard work. Every week we continue to learn and adapt, and we appreciate your feedback and your patience as we continue to do so. On that note, after the service today, we're going to be experimenting with a way for us all to connect using Zoom video conferencing. There will be more information on that later in the service, and you can find the link to get to that video conference on our website next to the link for the order of service. We've also added a way for you to donate to the church online by clicking on the link that says Give at the top of our website at uumedford.org. While we're not present with each other physically and can't pass around the collection plate, all of the expenses that we incur to keep up our building, pay our staff, and support our programs are still going on. And I encourage you to consider supporting UU Medford by making a donation as you feel moved to do so after the service ends. I also want to remind our members and friends that we're continuing our recommitment campaign. And if you haven't been contacted by your canvasser yet, please reach out to Brian Wolf or Joan Trudell. Lastly, I want to tell you something. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, whomever you love, whatever you believe, you belong here. You belong here, maybe for the next hour only, though we hope for longer, and we hope you join us for the Zoom video conference afterwards. You belong here, and we are happy to have you with us. I'm now going to light our chalice, a symbol of hope and the warmth of community. And I'll read some words by Deborah Falk. The chalice lit among us is a beacon of hope in a world of crisis, in crisis. A beacon of possibility made manifest in community. A beacon of warmth through our interconnections. A beacon of light illuminating our shared wisdom. A beacon of connection by our being together. Now, please join me in reciting the covenant of this church. You can find the words in your order of service. And it begins with the word. Love is the heart of this church. We commit to being a diverse, welcoming community of mutual care and respect, supporting each other's spiritual journey and search for truth and meaning, promoting justice and serving the wider community. We hold ourselves to this promise with compassion and understanding. And now, our first hymn.
Hello! So we're going to do the first hymn, which is number 128, if you happen to have the hymnal or the lyrics on the website, For All That Is Our Love. I'll give a short introduction, and this week I'm going to attempt to sing the hymns too along with you. I can't guarantee that will happen all the time, but this week it's at least somewhat possible because I know these a little better. So, yeah, For All That Is Our Life, a short introduction. For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift, which we are called to use, to build the common good, and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks for all that is our life. For sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, with praise and thanks for all that is our life. For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For make our own days glad. Well sung.
Hi, and welcome to Time for All Ages. This is Mimi Olivier, your Director of Religious Education. My fluffy assistant Sola and I are happy to introduce the minister for today, Rob Kinslow, who will be presenting a special Time for All Ages for all you magic lovers out there. Also, I look forward to seeing some of you later this afternoon for our religious education class, the UU Magic Lab. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon.
Today's Time for All Ages isn't a story, it's actually a magic trick. And it uses this bag. I wonder if anybody out there knows what this bag is. Most people don't, and I didn't either until somebody told me it actually is modeled after the old collection bags they used to use in the old churches. They would just pass it down the row and people would pass it and you couldn't see what your neighbor put in, which is very clever thinking. But today, this bag contains not money, but something much more valuable, something more precious than gold. This bag contains our 7 principles. Well, I know they don't look like principles. They're standing in for them today. They are symbols of what are sometimes called our rainbow promises, like respect, yearning, learning, growing, believing. And there's something special about these rings of rope. For one thing, they have no beginning and no end. That's because our Unitarian Universalist principles are not just for one day or another. They don't have a beginning and an end. They're for always. We're supposed to live them every day, and they inform our lives on how to be a full and whole human being in this world. And the other thing that's special about them is that they're a little bit magical, and I want to show you what I mean with the help of this bag. See, if I put all of the principles back in the bag, when they're all together, these principles work together to form something stronger than just any one principle. They join together just as we do. Our principles bid us to work in community, to support each other, and when we do that, we are stronger. And that's important. But it gets even better. And this is why our principles are so magical. See, if I put it back in the bag again, and wave, and we see the real magic about our principles is that they make us one. And that's the Unitarian and Unitarian Universalist. One family, one human family, all together. And that's real magic.
Hello, my lovelies. It's time for another hymn, and hymn number 2 is Where Gentle Tides Go Rolling By, 136 in your hymnal, or on the lyrics on the website as well. Short introduction, and I will also try and sing it as well again this time. Where gentle tides go rolling by along the salt sea strand, the colours blend and roll as one together in the sand, and often do the winds entwine to send their distant call, the quiet joys of humankind when love embraces all. Where
This is normally the time in our service when you would be invited forward to light a candle and share a joy, sorrow, or milestone with the congregation. Unfortunately, we can't do that right now, but what we are going to do is, immediately following the service, there will be a Zoom video conference that you can join where you will be able to see one another, and we'll have an opportunity to share our joys, sorrows, and milestones with one another there. After that, also on that video conference, we will break into small groups and have an opportunity to catch up with one another. The link to that video conference, along with instructions on how to join, can be found just below this video on our website. In this time of physical distancing, maintaining those social connections is so important. And so this is something new that we wanted to try with this service. Again, we hope that you all join after the service in those sharing of joys, sorrows, and milestones, and an opportunity for connection. Until that time, let us hold the joys, sorrows, milestones, and concerns of everyone who's joined in watching this service online in our hearts with a moment of silence. Thank you. I hope to see you all immediately after the service on Zoom. And now for our next hymn.
The movie adaptation was released in 2002 and starred Nicolas Cage playing two roles: the screenwriter Charlie Kaufman, who actually wrote the screenplay for the movie, and his twin brother Donald. Charlie, the screenwriter, is a self-loathing intellectual, and Donald is a happy-go-lucky kind of guy. They are a study in contrasts. Late in the story, the brothers are on the run, trying to escape some killers. During a lull in the action, in a swamp in the middle of the night, they get to talking, each thinking that they are about to be killed. Charlie turns to his twin, the dorky Donald, and says, "I admire you, Donald, you know. I spent my whole life paralyzed, worrying about what people think. And you're just oblivious." And Donald says, "I'm not oblivious." Charlie says, "No, you don't understand. I mean that as a compliment. There was this time in high school. I was watching you out the library window. You were talking to Sarah Marsh." Donald says, "God, I loved her." Charlie says, "And you were flirting with her, and she was being really sweet to you. And then, when you walked away, she started making fun of you with Kim Kennedy. You didn't know it all? You seemed so happy." And Donald says, "I knew. I heard them." "Well, how come you were so happy?" Donald says, "I loved Sarah, Charles. It was mine, that love. I owned it. Even Sarah didn't have the right to take it away. I can love whoever I want." Charlie said, "But she thought you were pathetic." Donald said, "That was her business, not mine. You are what you love, not what loves you. That's what I decided a long time ago." This scene, that moment, taught me something. I realized that as long as I have people in my life to love, I'm okay. And then I looked around and I thought, well, what if I loved everyone? It was then that I realized that if I did, I'll always be okay. I'm going to make it. Please take a moment now to reflect on what your life would be like if you loved everyone without condition. It may be hard, but try. Sink into this thought and know that if you loved everyone, you might love yourself more than you do. Love everyone, beginning with yourself. This coffee mug and this desk plaque reveal a humbling truth about me. I am an incurable proofreader. You see, it says, I am silently correcting your grammar. So this mug was given to me several years ago by a young woman I worked with when she was leaving our company, and it was a going away present. I thought it was funny, and my other coworkers also laughed and nodded knowingly. But then, this past summer, my brother Tom gave me this plaque for my birthday. I'm silently correcting your grammar. Well, what can I say? Proofreading is in my blood. My father taught high school English, and my mother was a junior high school librarian. I was editor of the college newspaper. My first job out of college was proofreading. At the tender age of 23, I got to proofread books by Ed Koch, Simone de Beauvoir, and the Don Juan novelist Carlos Castaneda. It was a bit of a thrill to be handling their actual manuscripts, still written on typewriters, riddled with handwritten notes by editors, and even better, to walk into a bookstore a year later and see your baby on a shelf. Now, most people who have served time as a proofreader will tell you that once a proofreader, always a proofreader, and that proofreading is a kind of sickness. While you are racing down the highway, you can't stop yourself from scanning billboards for typos. Local ads on cable TV tend to bring a special kind of thrill. It's turned out that over the years, working in marketing agencies, I have served as sort of an executive proofreader or editor. I've also trained many folks to do their own proofreading, and the first thing I tell them is this, that proofreading isn't so much a skill as an attitude. And the attitude is you saying, there's a mistake in here, and I'm going to find it. I think all proofreaders have their pet peeves or pet causes. One of my causes is to convince people that they don't need to capitalize every important word. And there are several reasons for that. Mind you, I work with companies that sell medical devices, medical tests, scientific lab equipment, and with so many medical and scientific terms, it sometimes seems as if every other word is important. But my clients get carried away. If they're talking to cardiologists, they capitalize cardiology and cardiologist. If they sell blood coagulation testing, they capitalize coagulation and testing. This, in my view, ends up looking and sounding very pretentious and even pompous. It also subtly implies that the people uppercasing every other word are a little insecure about what they're saying and are trying to sound important. But the biggest reason to not capitalize or uppercase every word you think is important is that every time you write something, you have to stop and ask yourself which words are important enough to be capitalized. You have attached conditions to what is to be deemed important. And where do you draw the line? It's a proofreader's nightmare. I think there's a lesson here about how we live our lives. I call it lowercase life. If you've ever heard of sacred geometry or sacred physics, well, this is sacred typography. To begin, let's consider an antidote to this uppercasing madness. To those who write, and in this online age we all write a great deal, I encourage what I learned when I was training as a newspaper reporter years ago. And that is to lowercase just about everything. It's on page 39 of the Associated Press style book, which was, for many journalists of my era, the Bible of clear and consistent writing. It says, in general, avoid unnecessary capitals. Use a capital letter only if you can justify it by one of the principles listed here. And then it lists the exceptions to the lowercase rule, which are few in number. This typography is sacred because it tells us something about how we live and how we love. We in our lives do an awful lot of uppercasing. That is to say, we love conditionally. I love you because you have made yourself important to me. I love and admire you because you are important. I love you because you make me feel important. I love you because you make me feel loved. I uppercase you. You're the top. We love conditionally as if we only had so much love to give. We judge, but in fact, Love is the only resource we have that is both renewable and without limit. You can create and dole out as much love as you wish. No scientist or grand jury or government authority is going to tell us, you are using way too much love. Cease and desist. You must reduce your love footprint, or all heaven will break loose. No. The face of love is infinite. Even infinity itself quivers and quakes in the presence of love. If you find yourself paralyzed from time to time, it may be that you are giving too much of your love conditionally, and you are having to stop and think about who or what to give it to. Who to capitalize. Now, surely there are people in our lives who are most important to us, and people to whom we are most important or very important. In our most special relationships, they and we are uppercase. But the book of life is far more than their sentence or yours, their paragraph or your chapter. In the book that is life, we are surrounded by other words, other people. And if we are truly universalists, just take a look around and who among us is really more important than another? And on what conditions might we be basing that? Wealth, education, profession, skin color, title, intelligence, bloodline, virtuousness, coolness. Mahatma Gandhi said, "A love that is based on the goodness of those whom you love is a mercenary affair." For me, lowercase life is an antidote to that mercenary affair Gandhi spoke of. Lowercase life, like proofreading, is an attitude of humility that says, you're not perfect, and I see your mistakes, your errors, your inconsistencies, your transgressions. But I know that in other ways, and at other times, I'm really no different. And so, just as Mr. Rogers so wisely said, I like you just the way you are. Now, humility does get some bad press. It is often equated with putting oneself last, and there are theologians who maintain that Christianity in particular has justified an awful lot of pain and suffering because it teaches that enduring pain and suffering is a way of humbling oneself before God. The last shall be first, so put yourself dead last. Feminist theologians, womanist theologians, black theologians, and Latino and Latina theologians have decried the Christian doctrine of atonement, for example, the example of Christ dying for our sins as a way of showing how far we can take humility, to lay yourself out like a doormat. Well, let me assure you that that is not what I mean by an attitude of humility. Humility simply says, I recognize that I am no more than, nor less than anyone else. What lowercase life doesn't say is that everyone is equally unimportant. Quite the opposite. Lowercase life says that everyone is pretty awesome, and that includes you, me, us, and that we should treat everyone equally well. Some of you may be thinking, well, this is old news. I mean, Jesus talked about this kind of love 2,000 years ago, and so has every prophet, preacher, and mystic since then. Well, I believe that we preachers, we modern-day prophets, need to be using new language in our pulpits to expand on this teaching, because if it's old news, why are so few people listening? Why are so few practicing a radical kind of love? Because if we are practicing what all these God talkers put down over the centuries, then I think we need more practice. I think I want my money back. The genius of Jesus of Nazareth was his ability to make things simple. Realize that the people of his time were mostly illiterate. The children were probably dirty from running in unpaved streets. They didn't have hand sanitizer. They didn't have Purell. And the adults were probably also not showering every day and had lost most of their teeth. They probably did not speak with perfect diction and in British accents, as so many movies portray. Most were focused on survival, not some high-minded theological debate. So Jesus wasn't preaching to the choir, so to speak. He was speaking to the masses. And when he said, love your neighbor as yourself, it was old news even then. He was quoting the Hebrew Bible, the law of Moses, written at least 500 years before his time. It's in the book of Leviticus, verse 18. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. What Jesus did was make this scripture simpler to understand, because clearly people were not putting this particular law into practice in his time. About 100 years after Jesus' time, the great Rabbi Hillel summarized the whole of the Torah with the same thought: love your neighbor as yourself, treat everyone the same. So I'd like to dare to go Jesus and Hillel one better, but I believe what I'm about to say is merely echoing what they, Buddha, Muhammad, Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., the Dalai Lama, and others have tried to say again and again: blessed be them all. And it's this: love everyone. It's so much easier. That's what it means to live the lowercase life. Live with humility, and no longer do you have to wonder whether someone is worthy of your time and attention. Of course they are. Whether you can always act on this is not the point, and may not even be practical. We all have to sleep and run the dishwasher and perform other critical functions, and some people may act as if they don't want our love. Well, don't let them change you. I believe it can be enough to always want to act with unconditional love in mind. That's a true north, a magnet drawing you out, and it is powerful spiritual sustenance for the hard work of our human lives, and especially in the times we're going through right now. I do believe that if this principle were more like an attitude, just like proofreading, and if more people practiced it, we would have less divisiveness in our time. Love everyone, says lowercase life, but don't forget that everyone includes you. May you find everyone you encounter, and in this life, and especially now, in this time of physical distancing, to be a mirror that takes the love you give and reflects it back on you. May you discover that the power you have to love is without limit. May you know that you are what you love, not what loves you. There is no place on earth that can possibly hold all this power you possess, this power to love and love and love again. This power was always meant to be released, for it was meant to flow out to everyone and gently find its way back to your heart. This is the lowercase life, love in free fall, willing to go wherever you wish. And when you find it everywhere, your wish granted, love will always be there for you. Amen. Shalom, Ashe, and may the light of your Holy Spirit shine upon you and show you the way home.
All right, here we go with the final hymn. Absolutely gorgeous. One of my favourite melodies, this one. Hymn number 3 is 298 in the hymnal. Wake Now My Senses. The lyrics, as always, on the website. I'll do a little short introduction. Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in all. Keep with the web of creation your vow, giving, receiving as love shows us how. Wake now my reason, reach out with the new. Join with these pilgrims who quest for the true. Honor the beauty and wisdom of time. Suffer thy limit and praise the sublime. Wake now, compassion, give heed to the cry, the voices of suffering conscience with justice thy guide. Join with all people whose rights are denied. Take not for granted a privileged place. God's love embraces the whole human race. Wake now my vision of ministry clear. Brighten my pathway with radiance clear. Mingle my calling with all who will share. Work toward a planet transformed by our care.
Friends, our closing words are simply this. Love yourself more than you do. Love others as yourself. And in everything you do, let love grow. It may be as simple and as hard as that, but it sure is worth a try. Thank you, and hope to see you soon.
A little fun folk tune to finish you with, and today we were supposed to have a big puppet theatre show and a family community dance at the church. Obviously, that's not happening. So I thought I'd play you one of the tunes that we play at the family dances. And those of you who have been to one of the dances before will probably recognise this tune. It's called The Horse's Brawl and involves lots of silly dancing. So feel free to silly dance away. Stay safe, you lovely people. See you soon.